Welcome to Sessions with Pastor Randy Needham. This is an interactive discussion as we dive into leadership, culture, and Jesus with Pastor Randy, special guests, and Dwelling Place staff. Live streamed on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday at 1:30.
Sorry, he just went silent. I don't really know what's happening back there.
We're live. Hi! Welcome to Sessions with Pastor Randy. We are so happy to have you guys join us this Wednesday at 1:30. Yasima, thank you for joining us. Charlie and Miss Lupe, Kiyoko. If you guys, we love for it to be interactive, so if you have any comments or questions, we'd love to chat with you while you guys are posting onto Facebook. And so we have Pastor Chris Clemmis here, and of course our awesome Pastor Randy.
I'm back.
You guys have been in Hong Kong, right?
In Asia.
They're back, so
yeah,
they're remotely back.
we're working on being back.
He was saying how his body was somewhere in the Pacific,
Yes.
though his mind is here.
I don't know where
spirit.
my mind
His
is.
spirit's
My
here.
spirit made it back with
Yeah,
my
okay.
luggage.
Okay, there you
My
go.
body's somewhere over the Pacific.
Yeah. So we don't know what we're gonna get today. It's gonna be good though. I believe it.
Sleep is it's a lovely thing when it happens.
Woo, that's great.
It's people don't realize Hong Kong is 13 hours different.
So you're on the opposite.
It's opposite pole all the way. So, you know, we're 2 weeks no sleep. So it's, you know, when you're 15, that's one thing, you know, but anyway, it just
Why you worked out.
yeah, I need to exercise helps, rest helps, fellowship, all of those things help, but I'm just not. I'll be super tired like 6, 4, 7 in the afternoon. I'm like
6, 4,
longing for the bed, longing, like hurting.
all the hours. He's
All the
longing for the bed.
I'm like longing for the bed, and you know you can't do it. And then come 9:30, 10 o'clock, I
don't
feel
want the
sleepy. But then all of a sudden, if I get like a nap, then I'm like, I'm awake,
Ready for
and
the
it
day.
is long. It is long hours. It is long hours till 5 a.m. when you finally.
Are ready to sleep, but it's time to wake up.
Yeah. And then you feel just really weird the rest of the day. And
So it's gonna be good
yeah,
today, guys.
yeah, it's great. Great.
Oh, we
Don't know what
got-
we're
yeah.
gonna do. So
You know, he's just telling you what you need to do, you know.
It's
work
all
out,
for-
have
all for the
fellowship.
gospel.
Yeah, it's for the gospel.
Yeah.
Brittany, thank you for joining us online. We're glad to have you. Miss Gay, it's good to have you guys today.
yeah. So how have y'all been doing since we've been gone?
It's been good.
Good?
Yes, we had a great time with Chris and Stephanie. Last week we talked about 10C and what all that looks like, and basically it started with you saying yes, and you didn't know what you were saying yes to.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say yes
You
to the
never
Lord,
did.
obedience is better than sacrifice,
Yep.
and then the Lord just makes the way.
Life becomes an adventure.
Right?
Yeah.
You go to Hong Kong for a week.
Yeah,
come
yeah.
back in.
Speaking of 10C,
Yeah.
I mean, we were around a pretty big.
Yeah. Give them a report.
We were around a pretty big gathering of nations in Hong Kong called Homecoming, and Pastor's been there for years and years, and Pastor Bungo was with us. So if you're watching, we love you. We love everyone there.
Nobody better.
Shibuya,
He's the
yeah.
best.
But I started to realize, like, 10C has a niche that we carry that has been in Pastor Randy's heart even before he got on an airplane to go to places. And part of our 10C niche is the local churches. And we just began to realize it, like, dawned on me, the mothers and fathers that we're attracted to, the vessel they're using to transform nations is a local church expression. And I realized how unique that language is the more meetings we're in,
Wow.
where God's using many different styles and different mediums of using transformation. But with us, it's kind of been find mothers and fathers, walk with them, sons and daughters are coming from afar, but then it's getting filtered through a local church expression.
Everything. In fact, we're intentional, as you know. Everything has to go back to the culture, the transformation of the church. We call it the glorious church.
Right.
Because, you know, no matter how big your concert is, no matter how big, you know, what happens when the concert's over, no matter how big your stadium event is, the biggest event on earth is the local church all over the earth. And if you can touch the local church, you can shake the earth.
Yes, so good.
And that is, Jesus is the head of that body.
So good.
And so we are intentional that to see the move of God, the glory of God, the outpouring of His Spirit, true dwelling places in the local church.
Amen.
And that's what we kind of go for. So as a result, you don't go there to do your own ministry.
Right.
You go there to reach them, to encourage them, to bring transformation
Right,
and
so
breakthrough for those guys. So that's kind of
You know, I
kind of
love
what
that.
we do.
I love that you talked about we go and find the mothers and fathers, and the sons and daughters come from afar. It's really funny because it's like the mothers and fathers connect with a father,
Yeah, they do.
and it really reminds me of. We talked at our 10C Skype meeting about how we really believe that there's a John generation arising, basically making a way, preparing the way for the Lord's return. And it says how John was going to call the father's hearts to the sons and the sons' hearts back to the father. And it makes me think of the fact that these sons and daughters that don't even know where their father is, that the Lord, this is part of His great work. This is part of an example of the John generation, of the father's heart calling out to the sons and the sons finding the father. And it all started with you saying yes, and then the Lord is doing His work. And it's preparing the way for His glorious return, for that glorious church, that church without spot or wrinkle. So I think that's a really neat, beautiful thing.
It's amazing. Actually, it's amazing. It's exciting. It's beautiful.
It's incredible.
And it is family.
It's
So
family.
I can honestly say where we go, it's not about a meeting. It's about family.
Right,
we do
right.
meetings,
It's just different.
but it's like you give your life for these people.
So precious.
And they give their, and in that is a beautiful thing happens. And actually the whole theme that we were involved in, this whole thing, was oneness. That was the whole theme of the week, was oneness, and out of John 17. And so,
awesome.
you know, that we are one,
Right.
and we're obviously one with Him. That's the first oneness. And then one with each other.
Yes.
And so it's a beautiful thing, and I love it. And even though I do get tired, I love it. So I want to encourage people today, just for these few moments, about we have
Oh, look at
more
this.
coming
Yes,
into
you joined
the.
us.
Yeah, he's
Wait
not
for it.
quite on the
Wait
screen
for
yet.
it. It's-
Yeah. Oh, there he
my man,
is.
Jeff
Miracle
Needham.
of multiplication.
He shows up.
Thank you for
know.
joining us.
He shows up.
You're in your summer attire.
I'm in my
Jeff.
sailboat attire.
Yes.
Because I'm
thank you.
sailing with the Lord. in His glory.
Oh no, guys! Thank you guys. You guys are sweet. We love that you're family.
Wow!
With us.
Wow! Wow!
Oh no.
My sessions just got photo bombed or whatever. I don't know what you'd call it.
Photo bomb. There you go.
Yeah.
Session bomb.
So,
Jeff
have we got anybody new with us here?
Yes, we got James Alvarez just joined us. Thanks
Hi,
for joining
James.
us, James. Josh Calendar.
Maybe we can put a screen block on Jeff's hairy legs over there, so we can
Oh.
like block that out, like
Hey,
that.
can we actually zoom in with the camera over here and like really
Jeff is
let
so
people know what a
bad.
real man looks
But
like?
Okay.
my favorite thing
Here,
is your
change-
dad and Pastor Chris on jet lag, and then you jumping in, and what happens as a
Jumping
result
in.
of that?
Okay, so we've got to
sail
make
with
this
the
time. We've got to make this
Core
time
values.
better.
You
yeah.
were going to talk about core values, right?
Oh yeah,
We have
right.
these core values.
Yeah, fathers and sons.
Fathers and
Yeah,
sons.
yeah. So I want to talk just real brief, quickly today. Something very important to help people, because you hear us use the word culture, And we're not doing that just to sound like, hey, trendy, culture, and it's a buzzword a little bit. But really, everything we do, we are establishing culture.
Right.
And the culture we're establishing is the culture of the kingdom, Elizabeth. It's the culture of the kingdom.
Culture of the kingdom. It's right.
Okay.
That's right. Everything
Can
we
we
do.
start over? It's the culture of the
Culture
kingdom.
of the kingdom. Everything we do.
You've been a culture guy for like years and years
Yes.
and years. Before this was
Because
like trendy to
because-
say culture on everything. You've
Yeah.
always been teaching.
You've been
Yeah,
saying culture
but
from the
so
beginning.
I want to say,
And speaking of
I
culture,
don't want Jeff.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
want
Jeff is
people.
banned for.
Jeff, I'm gonna throw
Even
you
the audience.
Off. I'm gonna
We've lost the
throw-
audience.
I'm gonna throw you off the set.
I'll be
Banish.
okay.
Jason Clemens
Okay.
is joining us and really
Do we
loving
have one of
this.
those drop
We love
cloths?
you, Jason.
Can we bring a drop cloth?
He did this to our last session. Jeff got the last sessions like this, so I think he's the only
Oh
common.
my!
Bringing it back, right?
So
Bringing it back.
back to culture. This is not a good culture right now. This is probably not what you want to do in sessions.
You've been carrying culture from the beginning, before coffee was cool.
Yeah,
Before culture
it's not
was
like
cool.
just being cool. Culture is not like, okay,
Right.
trendy,
Right, it's not just
cool,
trendy.
we're going to be cool. This is like buzzword that you use that we're trying to do, what is the reason for it? And the reason that I want to get into is, like I said, the culture is the culture of the kingdom. We're establishing a different culture on planet Earth. We are carriers of a different culture. If your culture is no different than the world around you, you're not transforming
Right.
anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
If you are just like the sphere around you, you can't you can't change it because you're the same.
Right.
Your thoughts are the same, your mindset's the same, your ways are the same, your limitations are the same. So it brings a different culture. And so I find, and I want you to hear me, this is the thought that kind of came in my heart this morning, is I find that there will be young, very talented people that will start out, some of the time they'll plant a church or they'll start a business, and they although they have all the potential in the world, they never have breakthrough.
Wow.
And they never get established.
Wow.
And the reason is not because they're not good people, and not because they're called, and not because they don't have sincere hearts. It's because they don't know who they are yet.
They're
And
not
they
culture
in fact,
established.
they
Wow.
graduate from college, they graduate from university. And one of the problems in our world today is you can go to the university, you can be trained in business by somebody who's never done business. You can get a degree in business from people who've never done business.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, you have concepts, you have ideas. So what has to be established in you is for this conversation and everything, is the culture of the kingdom. Culture of the kingdom in your marriage, the culture of the kingdom in your children, culture of the kingdom in your church. Culture of the kingdom is what establishes, because until your culture is established, you run over here to this seminar, you run over there to that seminar. Every year you get, it's what you're doing is you're getting a program. So what we've done in the church is we've run, hey, this is the program and the latest buzzword and whatever, and we get a program. And I'm not saying don't get trained, all of that. But what happens is people say, we're going to do this program in the church. They do it for a year and a half, and they're like, go to another
Next
seminar.
program.
Oh, this is who we are. And then they do another program. And then before long, people realize you don't know what you are because you keep changing what you are. So God has to establish in us the culture of the kingdom of God. And that's what becomes your core values. That is the values of the kingdom that are the keys to the kingdom. Jesus said to Peter, he said, on this rock I will build my church, this rock of revelation. I will build my church, and Hades or hell will not prevail against it. You know, we all need a culture that is the culture that hell can't prevail against.
Okay. That's good.
Darkness can't prevail against it. It is so hope-filled that hell cannot
Amen.
prevail.
That's good.
And he said, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So thank God. I know we preach that the name of Jesus is the key. But deeper than that, it's this revelation of Jesus, of his ways, of his teachings, of his precepts, of his kingdom, that when you find those precepts and those values of the kingdom, they're the keys that release heaven on earth.
That's good.
They're the core values. So if I had to take the Bible and boil it all down into, I don't want to just boil it down into doctrine. You know, I want to boil it down into, here are the keys of the kingdom that are not negotiable, that I live my life by, because when I walk in this, heaven's being released on earth.
That's good.
It's not negotiable. It is the culture of the kingdom. Jesus said you cannot put new wine in an old wineskin. So what we try to do is we keep the culture of the world and we try to get God's stuff put in it, and it spills.
Wow.
So we try to have revival, but before you can have revival, God has to put his culture in you, so that we are actually agree with heaven. We think like heaven. We love like heaven. We don't hold grudges.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many revivals have we seen stop because people get offended with each other?
Yeah, that's true.
But if you have the culture of the kingdom to where you prefer, love each other, and you live by a code that is not negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am. And so what keeps people from being established in life is they don't know what their culture is. They get programs, they get concepts, they get ideas, but we have to disciple people and bring it down to where the Bible, if we've got it, you know, it carried in our heart. We've got a wineskin of heaven's culture that God can pour his glory in, and it won't spill. You know, one of the examples I use of this, it's really a natural example, is we like coffee.
Yes,
So when we travel, Chris likes those
undertows.
Those undertows. What did I call it overseas? I called
couple
it
different names.
I called it it's a different name every time we go through.
I like your names. They're
He
colorful.
gets an undertow, which
Barefoot.
is a
Calls it a barefoot.
I don't know if I called it the underworld the last time or the whatever.
Underworld?
But
Give me two of those underworlds.
give us two of those
Right here.
underworlds.
Extra
I
hot.
think give me one of them lower dragons. I don't know what it is, but it's like 5 shots, and then he just like, and I said, Chris, make it last till we drive out of the driveway to the feeder, and it never lasts.
No.
It costs $5, and it's like this big, and he goes, that's the way you're supposed to drink it.
That's awesome.
It's
That's funny.
yeah. So anyway, we like
We do
going,
like coffee.
finding. So one of the things I've noticed
Mm-hmm.
is when you go around the world, there's Starbucks
Yep.
everywhere,
Praise God.
and I call this the Starbucks church planting principle.
Starbucks church planting principle.
You say, what does
Like that
Starbucks have to do
With church.
with
yeah.
church planting? And
Tell
that
us.
is this.
Tell us.
That there are different culture all over the world. There's Chinese culture, Russian culture. One of the strongest cultures you'll ever come across is Greek culture.
Greeks. I knew you were going to say the
Greek
Greeks.
culture. God
Greeks.
bless all the Greeks. There's Latin culture.
The Greeks.
There's Malaysian culture. There is French
African.
culture.
Africans got
All
Yeah.
the cultures.
African culture, wherever you go, and everybody's got a mindset, everything. Everybody holds their culture, because in the culture is your identity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so what we need is heaven's culture.
That's right.
When you walk in our midst, did you walk into heaven's culture?
Just like in all these cultures, even no matter what, there's a Starbucks. They walk in.
You know, I can be anywhere. And Chinese culture strong. whatever, wherever it is. But when I see the little, people hate that symbol. People are like mad at the symbol. Chinese are mad at the symbol. It's a bad symbol. But anyway, when you walk in, you see the green, and you walk in to what shocked me when I first got to Hong Kong years ago, that there was like 95 Starbucks in Hong Kong. And I'm like, my God, if this was churches being planted, this would be successful.
That would be awesome.
Wow. And now there's got to be 9,000.
They're everywhere.
If there's 100, there's 900, easy in Hong Kong. And every one of them you walk into, it feels like you just walked into a Starbucks in Seattle or Houston or Russia or wherever. And I said, you know what Starbucks has done is they know their culture.
Yep.
Their culture is stronger than Chinese culture.
Right, yeah.
Their culture is stronger than Russian culture. They know their culture. They know their music. They know their taste. They know their smell. And I said, if the church would learn the same thing, if the church knew how to establish its culture,
Heaven's culture.
To where we do not compromise heaven's culture. Heaven's culture. You walk in our midst, signs, wonders, miracles. You walk in our midst, salvation. You walk in our midst, love. You walk in our midst, honor. You walk in our midst, blessing. If you walk in our midst, open heaven. Undescribable, but it's consistent. And it doesn't matter if it's in France, and it doesn't matter if it's in Africa, and it doesn't matter if it's in Latin America. The kingdom of heaven wins.
Yes, the principles win. That's so good.
Pastor, you said something to me one time. Hopefully I'm hearing it right. You could be listening, and maybe you're a newer pastor, or you're like, I want what he's saying. And I think you said something to the effect of, let me ask you, how long does it take you to get your culture?
That is a good question.
I think you told me it takes about 10 years.
Well, if you are walking with sons and daughters, people say, how do I get sons and daughters? How do I do this? And see, the only way that we can walk together is we have the same heart. If we don't have the same heart, we're going to separate. So, if what makes me family is that we have same DNA.
Yeah.
So actually, if you were sick, one of my organs could be taken from my body and put in your body, and your body won't reject it. But if we're not family, if we're not sons and daughters, we reject each other. We can't be intimate with each other. So this is a really good question, because people say, how do I get young people? And you do it by being family and living together. And we talk about these things. Y'all know I drill y'all on these. Y'all don't always like it. And I'll close meetings with, give me the core values.
We don't always like to be drilled. That's
Y'all
what you're
don't
saying.
always
We like the core values.
You like the core values, but you don't always like
When you mess with the core.
No, okay. Anyway, keep going.
There's always new revelations. So
Mess with the
what
language.
happens is really, I would say,
Verbiage.
at least 5 to 7 years of walking together, sharing the language, and imparting to one another, to where, if I say to all y'all, or most of our church now, tear the loaf. That is our culture. It's non-negotiable. It releases the kingdom of heaven of generosity in our midst. So if I say tear the loaf, behind that is years of teaching,
Right.
years of experience. But all I have to say is one phrase, tear the loaf. And which is our culture of royal generosity. March into the multitude. Give your life away. Watch the loaves. Watch your life multiply. So that's established. So we all use the same language now. We all understand. So what happens is, the more people that have the same culture, the more powerful your momentum
That's
is.
good. Yeah, that's good.
So when resistance comes, it's not just one person. Everybody's pulling the rope the same way.
Yes,
But when
that's so
everybody's
good.
got their
Makes it
own
strong.
language, Everybody's got their own direction. Everybody's got their own philosophy. Everybody's got their own attitude. Well, I believe in that faith. No, I don't believe in faith. I believe in confess. I don't really believe in that. You can't have
It's
unity.
ineffective
There's
with it,
no,
yeah.
yeah, and
You
you
can't-
can't establish a culture.
Yeah, you can't
You
get
can't
ground
establish
either.
it. The wineskin bursts. The wineskin bursts. So it is not an overnight process because the Lord's got to put it in you. And but you know we have a lot of liberty. We have a lot of like grace. We have a lot of like entry level, walk with us, all of that. But when it gets to a certain level of leadership, it's non-negotiable on our language, our culture, and our core values. Because it works, and it's not open for debate. It's got to be biblical, but it's what God's put together in our hearts. And so this is like big picture, but that's what establishes a culture. There's no way that Starbucks established that culture in every place when every culture is different to be consistent without being very intentional.
Right.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
our culture. What did that do? It gave them identity.
Yeah, that's true.
Gave them identity.
That's good.
And so I think you have to, it's the discovering
Yeah.
of our identity that releases our culture. You know, part of our identity is dwell. Hosting His presence. That's our culture. Behind that is years of teaching and training, but that's who we are. That's what we do. You know, encounter, all of those things. So I probably went way over time. I'm sorry. I didn't. Anybody?
We're at 30 minutes.
Is
Yes.
anybody still listening, or did we lose them?
We got a lot of yes. I love that. Come on,
Well,
preach
you
it.
told us before it's the note. How do they know what to follow unless the note? It's that the culture is not as important for us because we keep sounding the same note and there's agreement there.
Yeah.
And we have spiritual agreement. We can do things a lot faster.
Yeah.
And with a lot more fruit. And so I can't imagine standing up and everybody having a different opinion on healing
Yeah.
every Sunday. That would be just odd.
Yeah.
Heaven has complete agreement when it comes to
Right.
things, and that's why it's the effectiveness is there.
Yeah,
when-
effectiveness.
like heaven is full of peace and unity because there's one opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one will. It is
Wow.
done all the time.
Yeah.
Earth is in confusion because there's many. You know, so even I'll say this, not just in our house, but how do we walk together with different nations and different cultures?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same thing. We have to have you know,
Yes.
like the Chinese say, Pastor, we have different language, same heart.
I have seen you go in different cultures that are very strong, and something like praying for the sick or telling people about Jesus. They're like naturally when they say, this is not what our culture does. We don't talk on the streets about Jesus. We can't do that. That's not how it works. They won't receive it. And I love your response has been, we go past our culture, our national culture, and we are all a part of the kingdom. It doesn't matter if it's normal where you're at. It doesn't matter if it's normal in your town, in your family, because we're above that system. We're in the kingdom system. And I
Yeah.
have loved seeing the kingdom system catch fire in nations that wouldn't naturally see things happen.
Because
and then
because
signs and
if
wonders.
you're not careful, the preachers are the worst at this by thinking it may work over there, but it won't work here, or it's really hard in my area, or my city, or my nation, and the only
My
thing that'll
family.
work, and it works everywhere, is the kingdom of God.
Right. Yes.
And that's
yes,
the-
yes.
it's-
So,
establishing.
okay, I just
So
feel like I have
good.
to interrupt for
That's so
practical leadership. Question point. So, culture, kind of almost hard to recognize in a way, your own culture, because it's just your natural ecosystem. So sometimes you don't even realize it until you experience a different culture, and
Right,
you're like,
that's
wow,
true.
that we don't do that in ours or whatever. So if you're a leader, there's a leader listening. How do they start to recognize something that's maybe wrong with their culture, and how do they make a cultural shift?
I compliment you guys because y'all, like all of our leadership team, as I travel around the world with y'all, y'all are very good and very fast at
Bungo's wizard.
becoming aware of culture, number one.
Yeah.
But y'all are very good and very fast at honoring people, honoring their culture, but also understanding their strengths. But then you realize they're missing this. We need to give them this. And I would say that just being aware of it, and y'all are very good at like breaking down it becomes building blocks. You know, they're missing the supernatural. We need to bring that, or they're missing joy. How many times have we gone somewhere and they're like the most sincere disciples you've ever seen, but they're like weary and they're heavy and they're mourning and all of that, and we're like, we need we say it a little differently, but they need the joy of the Lord. And so y'all are very good at seeing. It's not for criticism. It's just loving them and honoring them. And then there'll be times we walk away and say, they have an excellent culture in this area. We need that.
Yeah.
We need to be better at that, because of the kingdom. And there's many times we'll walk away and we'll say that. We need that. We need to be aware. So it's becoming aware of it. It's becoming aware of how to build it, and honoring them, and seeing, and then letting the Holy Spirit lead you to encourage them. Like, how many places do we go and teach culture of honor? Everywhere, because it's needed everywhere to learn how to honor and celebrate. And we have in our culture our culture of honor is very heavy on the culture of celebration.
Yeah.
Celebrating people, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
It is.
We've seen this where, like, it's just like you're saying, if someone's watching, you're like, they know they have a deficiency in some area, they give towards, they put honor in, they'll get it on a plane and go listen to, they'll invest in.
That's good.
They'll use honor to unlock a measure of
That's
that
good.
towards them,
To get it.
That's good.
to receive something in that
That
area.
is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see fruit from it,
Yeah.
or lack of fruit from it. If it's something that's not a right culture, you don't see it in your life. You're like, I'm hearing these words, but I'm not seeing this in my life. What needs to change in my heart, Lord? What do I need to be around? Who do I need to be listening to? How can I change this culture to look more like what you have in your word?
Yeah, and I think that the Lord is so faithful to be bringing us to these opportunities, like to see a different ministry that is flowing in a different way.
Yeah,
He gives us these
it's true.
opportunities. It's not like we're left high and dry. He wants to be heard. He's not going to make himself unheard when we want to do what he wants us to do. He's so faithful to bring it before us. It's our opportunity to see it, see the value in it, see the value in others, and choose to glean from it and grow and not be set. I think that's a big deal. But I think God is always so faithful to bring the people, to bring us to a message, to bring us to a song or to a ministry, to see where our growth is needed, for sure.
Yeah.
So good.
Any final thought? I don't know if I
guess just I would encourage people, like, my one thought I had to add on to what y'all are saying, which is so good, is that maybe paying attention to the little phrases that you fill in life that are just in between the conversations. I met with someone the other day,
That is really good.
and I was encouraging them, and they were having some leadership problems in the church, and just some of the phrasing of how they were phrasing things let me know that their faith was already predetermined to, like, this person was going to be a problem. They were going to have to, like, cut this situation or change this or whatever. And I just said, hey, like, even the words you're saying are already leaning this direction, and that's where your faith is, that's where you're going. Why not lean over to this side?
That's good.
And just like, because it's like some of the things we say when we're not meaning, when it's just
fill
the
in, that's
natural
good.
talk that comes out, it kind of reveals our true thought of what's going to happen and where our faith is going and what's happening. And so as you start to change, as you pay attention to that, you can say, God, okay, why am I saying that? Why am I expecting that? Oh, I'm putting up my guard already, or, I'm getting, I'm not celebrating, I'm getting jealous, that's, or I'm not, whatever the situation is, like your expectation says a lot, And
That's
so I
good.
just think it's real
Patient.
interesting, to like look at that and then say, okay, then kind of sozo yourself a little bit, like, Lord, why am I
Yeah.
thinking this? Why am I saying this?
Well, you
What's-
have culture.
I need a
you-
change. I need an operating system upgrade.
Sure.
You know,
Well, you have culture whether you realize it or not.
Right.
that's what I'm.
That's
yeah.
what you're
The
saying.
Yeah.
ecosystem, yeah.
And you don't know it most of the time, actually.
And so it can be healthy, unhealthy,
yeah.
or weak, or
We're very purposeful to give voice to
We're
our
very
culture.
purposeful.
A lot of people are just
Yeah.
having a culture and they're not giving
Yeah.
voice to it, but it's still very
well,
Wow.
the only way you can walk together is by having the same heart and the same DNA.
Sounding that
So
note, yeah.
core values is how you get common DNA.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it is probably my biggest job.
Yeah.
That's good. So awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So bye everybody.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us and for watching. We're here every Wednesday at 1:30, and you're going to hear more of this culture talk. You're going to hear more core
Super
values.
awesome.
The more you listen, you'll be able to hear more of the Father's heart and sounding this same note. So make sure to come every Wednesday at 1:30. We're on Facebook and YouTube. If you subscribe, you can get notified. Also share it with on your page, and so other
Yeah.
people can be blessed
That'd
by
be helpful.
these
Yeah.
moments. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.